Hello, sports fans. It is Monday, December the 3rd, the year 2012. And as usual, a lot to get to in the sports world, so let's get it going right now. Let's go to the NFL. Let's go to a game that set football back 500 years. Let's go to the Meadowlands. The New York Jets beat the Arizona Cardinals 7-6. The Jets somehow go to 5-7. The Cardinals dropped to 4-8. The Cardinals were 4-0. They've lost 8 in a row. This game set football back 500 years. Impossible to watch. Ugly football. Sanchez, interceptions all over the place. Cardinals playing their third-string quarterback, Lindley. He can't complete a pass. The Arizona offensive line is awful. Arizona can't convert a third down. Just a mess of a game. Sanchez is so bad, he gets pulled, and now we got a quarterback controversy in New York. And no, not with Sanchez and Tebow. Sanchez and McElroy. McElroy comes in the game. He gets the Jets down the field. Gets a couple of penalty calls. He gets hit late out of bounds. That helps him get down the field. And he actually gets the ball in the end zone, something that Sanchez couldn't do. And the Jets actually win 7-6. Do I think McElroy is great? No. Do I think he played great yesterday? No. But Sanchez was abominable. He was that bad. He looked atrocious. So now you have a quarterback controversy in New York. And to me, you might as well go with McElroy. I mean, the Jets' season is over. They are 5-7. I know they're a couple games out of a playoff spot. Please, they're not making the playoffs. Sanchez looks lost. Tebow's hurt. Just go with McElroy. See what he's got. And as far as Arizona, what a terrible offensive team. Their defense actually played well yesterday. Their offensive line, Arizona, is atrocious. They're down their third-string quarterback. I have no idea why they play Lindley. He doesn't look good at all. Arizona, a complete mess. Larry Fitzgerald is even invisible in these games. So an atrocious game yesterday in the Meadowlands. Set football back, I would say, 500 years. That's how bad the game was. Let's move on. Let's move up to Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills at home beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 34-18 in the rain, in the slop, in the wind at Orchard Park. This was another mess of a game. This game got out of hand. Nice job by Buffalo. These are the type of teams Buffalo can handle. They can handle the mediocre, weak, bad teams. Buffalo can't beat an elite team. So Buffalo goes to 5-7. I mean, they're still disappointing as far as I'm concerned. I still don't believe in Fitzpatrick. Jacksonville goes to 2-10. We know they're not any good. They had showed life the last couple of weeks with Henne. They played Houston tough. They beat Tennessee. They took a major step backwards here. Jacksonville needs all sorts of work. I mean, their regular quarterback, Gabbard, is hurt. We don't know if he could even play. Henne, we still are not a believer in him. We saw what he did at the end of his Miami Dolphin career. He was not good. Jacksonville's got a couple decent receivers. Jones-Drew is still out there, a complete mess, Jacksonville. So Buffalo does get the win in another ho-hum type of game. Let's move on to Detroit. The Indianapolis Colts beat the Detroit Lions 35-33. You talk about a tale of two teams going in opposite directions. The Colts cannot lose a close game. They win every close game. They go to 8-4. The Lions cannot win a close game. The Lions dropped to 4-8. It seems like every week the Lions are winning in the fourth quarter and find a way to blow it. They were up 33-21 in the fourth quarter and let the Colts steal this game. The Colts score with no time left. The Colts score on a 4th and 10 with no time left. And Andrew Luck, again, he struggled in the first half. He threw a couple of picks. You know he throws a lot of picks on the road. He's much better at home. But you like what you see from this kid because he came back in the second half. He came back in the fourth quarter, and he led the Colts to victory. And the Colts are going to make the playoffs, believe it or not. And the Lions, 4-8. The Lions, 4-8. This team has talent. But every time you look up, their defense is letting a big lead slip away. Stafford, who's a good quarterback, always seems to throw a bad interception. I mean, the Lions are a complete mess. What a disappointment at 4-8, and a tremendous job by the Indianapolis Colts winning this game and going to 8-4. They're going to make the playoffs. Let's move on. Let's go to Tennessee. The Houston Texans beat the Tennessee Titans 24-10. Houston goes to 11-1. Tennessee drops to 4-8. To me, I said this last week, I thought the spread was too low. It was only 5. To me, Houston is light years better than Tennessee. I haven't liked what I've seen at all from Tennessee. They've been another disappointing team this year. They're not going anywhere. They have a long way back to respectability. Houston, what you can't say anything bad about them. They're 11-1, Houston, and they get the job done here. I mean, they took care of business. They beat a weaker team, just like I thought last week. Next week, Houston is at New England, Tennessee at Indianapolis. All right, let's go to Chicago. Let's go to historic Soldier Field. The Seattle Seahawks in overtime beat the Chicago Bears 23-17. The Seahawks with a much-needed road win. They go up to 7-5. The Bears drop to 8-4. What an exciting game this was. I mean, Seattle comes back and takes the lead. The Bears miraculously get into field goal range at the end of the game and actually tie it, send it into overtime. Seahawks get the ball, go right down the field, and Wilson to Sidney Rice. Sidney Rice gets in the end zone. He takes a huge hit. He gets knocked out, apparently. You know, he was laying on the ground. The ref said he did cross the goal line before he got in. That was a good call. It was strange at the end of the game. They were, the refs were looking to see if he got in. The Seattle players were celebrating. They're trying to pick Rice up. The Bear players are trying to rip the ball away from Rice because the ball had fell out of his hands after he got knocked down. And then some of the medical staff was telling the Seattle players to get off Rice, to stop celebrating with him because he might have a concussion or something to get away from him. So a chaotic scene at the end of the game, but Seattle gets a huge road win. They've been looking for this signature road win all year. They get it here. Huge win for Seattle. They're at 7-5. They are home for Arizona next week. Very winnable game. Bears at Minnesota next week. Bears drop to 8-4, and they actually let Green Bay jump them in the standings. Let's move on. Let's go down to Miami. The New England Patriots beat the Miami Dolphins 23-16. New England goes to 9-3. They wrap up the division. Miami drops to 5-7. New England was kind of in control this whole game. I mean, they were leading early. They were leading most of the game. They got the job done. I never thought Miami was going to win this game. Miami kind of hung around. New England, as usual, you look up. They're leading their division. They win their division. They're 9-3. They're going to make the playoffs. I still don't believe in New England's defense. They did play better yesterday. I don't believe in them in a big spot in the playoffs, especially if they have to play on the road. I don't believe in them. I think that's going to get them in the end. But New England, year after year, consistent, just first-class organization. Miami, listen, they're 5-7. You like Tannehill. I think the future is bright for Miami. They've kind of hit the wall here. So, but they've done basically a nice job. Some people thought Miami was going to have the worst record in the league this year. So New England gets the job done. They are home next Monday night against Houston in a tremendous Monday night game. And Miami is at San Francisco. Let's move on. Let's go to Denver. The Denver Broncos win again. They go to 9-3. They beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They beat them 31-23. Broncos at 9-3. Like I said, Tampa Bay at 6-6. Broncos are on fire. They cannot lose. Peyton Manning in the regular season is doing it again. He's unbeatable in the regular season. Yes, he can be shaky in some spots in the playoffs, but the regular season, he's as good as gold. I like the Bronco defense. They are on absolute fire. They are a contender. They are a contender to do big things in the playoffs. Tampa Bay at 6-6. They are in every game. It seems like they're within one score either way each week. I do like what I see from Tampa Bay. I'd like to see them get a little better on the defensive side of the ball. Denver has the Thursday night game at Oakland. I mean, what a joke of a game that is. Tampa Bay next week home for Philly. They should beat Philadelphia. Philadelphia can't get out of its own way. So that's the story there. Let's move on. Let's go out to San Diego. The Cincinnati Bengals beat the San Diego Chargers 20-13. The Bengals go to 7-5. The Chargers drop to 4-8. Once again, the San Diego Chargers. They are like the Detroit Lions. They find a way to lose each and every week. They're winning into the fourth quarter each and every week, and each and every week they blow the game. I hate to be rude about this, they are a bunch of losers. North Turner, who is a great offensive coordinator, has to be fired. They need a big-time head coach in there. They need all sorts of changes. The Chargers at one point this year were 3-1. Now they are 4-8. You do the math. Another terrible job by San Diego. And Cincinnati, give them credit. Cincinnati started 3-1 this year. Then they dropped to 3-5. They've won 4 in a row. Cincinnati's done a nice job. Their defense is playing a lot better. They have a lot of good young players. I like Dalton. I like Green. I like what I see from Cincinnati. They are in the playoff race. Right now, they're tied with Pittsburgh for that last spot. Pittsburgh does have the tiebreaker, but Cincinnati is right there. They've done a nice job bouncing back. Let's move on. Let's go to Baltimore. The Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Baltimore Ravens 23-20. I mean, just an unbelievable job by Charlie Batch in this game. Charlie Batch, I didn't think he had it in him. He played really well yesterday. Charlie Batch played well, and the Steelers overcame some bad turnovers. Sanders, the receiver, Batch hit him right in stride for what was going to be a long touchdown, and as he's running, the ball just comes out of his hands. So a terrible turnover there. Batch did have a bad turnover in the end zone. That was one of his few bad throws, but overall, a nice job by the Steelers. They kicked the game-winning field goal at the end, and Baltimore's long home winning streak is over. Very surprised Baltimore lost this game. Baltimore is a very good home team. Baltimore usually does not lose at home, so this was a really nice win by the Steelers. Baltimore drops to 9-3. Pittsburgh's up to 7-5. Pittsburgh hanging on to that last playoff spot. Baltimore next week at Washington. Pittsburgh is home for San Diego. Let's move on. Let's go to St. Louis. Another wild game. The St. Louis Rams in overtime beat the San Francisco 49ers 16-13. Niners dropped to 8-3-1. Rams are up to 5-6-1. I'll tell you, the Rams have done a nice job. Fisher has done a nice job with that team. They are in every game. They've only been blown out like once or twice the whole year. They're almost at 500. They should have beat San Francisco a couple weeks ago and the game ended in a tie. They get them here. They come back. They're down 10-2. They get the big turnover. They run in the end zone. Then they get the 2-point conversion. Niners go down, kick a field goal, go up 13-10. Rams come back and tie it. Rams winning at the end of overtime. Really nice job by St. Louis. San Francisco, you'd like to see a little more offense from them. I know they have Kaepernick. I mean, are they going to stay with Kaepernick? Are they going to bring back Alex Smith? You'd like to see a little more offense from San Francisco. They do have a good defense. Next week, San Francisco home for Miami. They should beat them. St. Louis at Buffalo. St. Louis with a chance to get to 500. Nice job by the Rams. Let's move on. The Thursday night game, the Atlanta Falcons at home. They beat the New Orleans Saints. Atlanta went to 11-1. New Orleans dropped to 5-7. This was all about Drew Brees. He played terribly, had a million interceptions. He did a terrible job at the end of the first half when he threw he couldn't spike the ball in time, and the clock ran out, and they didn't get points on that drive. So just not a good game for Brees. Uncharacteristic of him, too. Not a great game for Drew Brees. He's usually money in the bank. Didn't play well. Way too many turnovers. Botched the end of the first half, so not a great job by him. Atlanta can do no wrong. They pull out games each and every week. Saints are just about done. I mean, the Saints, we knew it was going to be a long year for them. Their defense isn't great. The suspensions, the bounty, lost year for the Saints. They'll bounce back next year, I think. Saints at the Giants next week. Atlanta at Carolina. Let's move on to Carolina. Carolina at Kansas City, I should say. The Kansas City Chiefs get a very emotional win. They beat the Carolina Panthers 27-21 at Arrowhead. Kansas City up to 2-10. Carolina drops to 3-9. After the tragedy that happened on Saturday with Belcher and the whole incident with him, you have to give credit to the Chiefs and their coaching staff for keeping it together. They could have went the other way in this game. They could have lost this game 45-0. They rallied. I've been on the Chiefs all year. I've been down on them all year. They did a nice job here. I mean, I know they're 2-10. I don't want to throw, roses and bouquets at them. They did a nice job here. They really hung in there. They showed some character. Nice job under the circumstances by Kansas City. Carolina lost year. Cam Newton, Carolina. What's happened to you? 3-9. You were so good last year. I mean, they didn't win a lot of games last year, Carolina, but they played better than they're playing this year. They've played an atrocious season for the most part this year. Carolina home for Atlanta next week. That's probably another loss. Kansas City at Cleveland. Let's move on. Let's go out to Oakland. The Cleveland Browns beat the Oakland Raiders 20-17. Browns up to 4-8. Raiders dropped to 3-9. Let's start with Cleveland. Cleveland is showing some signs of life. Whedon looks like he could do some things. If they can get some receivers around them, some weapons, you might have something with Whedon. Cleveland has been playing a lot better. They win here. They beat the Steelers. They played Dallas well. Cleveland has been showing some signs of life. Oakland is a complete dead carcass. Their defense is a joke. They're playing horrendously. I have nothing good to say about Oakland. Defense horrible. Small crowd in Oakland. I mean, their running backs are hurt. I mean, Palmer puts up good numbers, but he also throws a bunch of picks. he should be on a team that's ready to win. Instead, he's on a team that can do nothing but lose. They have some nice young receivers. Long way back for Oakland. Next week, Cleveland home for Kansas City. Like I said before, Oakland home on the Thursday night game against Denver. That's another loss. Let's move on. Let's go to historic Lambeau Field, where the Green Bay Packers beat the Minnesota Vikings 23-14. Green Bay goes up to 8-4. They go into first place. They jump Chicago. Minnesota down to 6-6. Minnesota was up 14-10 in this game, and then Ponder threw a horrendous interception in the end zone. And then at 20-14 Green Bay, Ponder threw another bad pick inside the 30. Ponder did not play well. He threw 2 bad interceptions. Green Bay was there to be picked off yesterday. Minnesota was in this game. Ponder didn't play well. 2 bad interceptions. Adrian Peterson, the runs he has is amazing. It's amazing what Adrian Peterson is doing this year. Green Bay still not firing on all cylinders, but they're so dangerous. You look up, they're 8-4. They're leading their division. They could be 9-3. They should have won that Seattle game where they were robbed. But they're not clicking on all cylinders. They have injuries on the defensive side of the ball. They have problems on the offensive line, problems in the running game. They do have Rodgers. They do have their good receivers. It always gives them a chance. Green Bay next week home for Detroit. Minnesota home for Chicago. I think Minnesota's going to go the other way now. I think they're going to start to fall out of it. Let's go to the Sunday night game. The Dallas Cowboys beat the Philadelphia Eagles 38-33. Dallas up to 6-6. Philadelphia drops to 3-9. This is typical Dallas and typical Philadelphia. Dallas falls behind by double digits in the first half and tries to rally. They've been doing it all year. Sometimes they catch up, sometimes they don't. Last night they did. They end up catching the Eagles, passing them, and winning. The Eagles, they were 3-1, now they're 3-9. They've lost 8 in a row. They are terrible. They did show some signs of life yesterday on offense. Their defense is atrocious. They give up 30 points a game. To me, I don't know if the Eagles are going to win a game the rest of the year. Dallas, to me, they are what they are. 6-6, a 500 team. I just don't see Dallas putting together a big run. They're not consistent. They're not consistent game to game. They're not even consistent quarter to quarter. Dallas does get the win here. They're at Cincinnati next week. Very tough game. Philadelphia at Tampa. That's another loss. The Monday night game tonight, we have the Giants at Washington. So interesting game there. You get to see Robert Griffin III. So very interesting game there. So that wraps up your week in the NFL. Let me quickly touch on the college football. Let's go to the college football real quick. Alabama beats Georgia in a very exciting game Saturday, 32-28 in Atlanta. And Alabama will play Notre Dame now in the national title game in Miami. So Alabama gets the job done. They get their second life. We thought Alabama, when they lost to Texas A&M, was going to be out of it. They get back into it. The SEC is so powerful, and that, the credibility of the SEC is so high. You can lose a game and get back into it if you win the SEC championship. That's what Alabama has done here. This game was back and forth. It was more high scoring than I thought. End of the game, McCarron, a coup of 45 yards, puts Alabama ahead. Georgia gets one more chance. It looks like Alabama picks off a pass. It looks like the game's over. They review it. Good call. The ball hit the ground. Georgia gets the ball back. Georgia goes down the field. And Georgia, instead of spiking the ball, they run a play at the Alabama, 8-yard line. And they end up completing a pass that was tipped. And the clock ends up running out because Georgia has no timeouts. What I think Georgia should have done is, Georgia, when they got down there inside the 10, spike the ball, gather yourself, set up your offense. They rushed up to the line. They threw a pass into the flat. Alabama guy tips it. Georgia guy, just instinctively catches the ball at the 4-yard line. He's tackled there. Georgia, no timeouts. Game over. Alabama in the national championship game. Georgia's heartbroken, and you'll have Alabama and Notre Dame in your title game. A few other games. The ACC championship game, Florida State, not a great game, beat Georgia Tech 21-15. Florida State at 11-2. They got the job done here. Georgia Tech, a very disappointing 6-7. They did compete in this game, but Georgia Tech 6-7, and they're going to go to a bowl game. What a joke that is. Stanford at home, they win the Pac-12 title. They beat UCLA 27-24. They beat UCLA 2 games in a row. Stanford with another nice year at 11-2. UCLA did have a nice year too at 9-4. The MAC title in Detroit, Northern Illinois in 2 overtimes beats Kent State 44-37. Northern Illinois only lost 1 game this year. The Big Ten title in Indianapolis. Listen to this score. Wisconsin 70, Nebraska 31. Nice job, Nebraska. Nice job showing up for this game. Wisconsin ends the year at 8-5, Nebraska 10-3. How in the world did Wisconsin put up 70 points on Nebraska? This was not a great Wisconsin team. Nebraska, what happened to that, that defense that you used to have? 70 points? Awful job by Nebraska. Nice job by Wisconsin. The Big East title, Louisville goes into Rutgers on Thursday night, beats Rutgers 20-17. Nice job by Louisville rallying in this game. Rutgers was up 14-3.5 in total control. Louisville comes back, so they win the Big East. Kansas State, they finished a nice year. They beat Texas 42-24. Kansas State ended up 11-1. Nice job by them. Texas, very disappointing, 8-4. They really should be 7-5. Should have lost the Oklahoma State game. They got a nice call on the goal line there. And Conference USA, Tulsa in overtime beats Central Florida 33-27 in a high-scoring affair there. So that kind of wraps up your college football. I'm going to do all the bowl matchups on Wednesday for you, along with the Army-Navy game. I'm going to pick the Army-Navy game for you Wednesday, and I'm going to go through all the bowl matchups on Wednesday, see who's playing who, and all that kind of stuff. A couple other things. College basketball. I want to acknowledge Rick Majerus passed away over the weekend. Rick Majerus was one of my favorite coaches. I really enjoyed him on the sidelines. A tremendous coach at Utah and St. Louis. I mean, got his Utah team to the final game one year. A tremendous basketball mind. Really sorry that he passed away. He will be missed. Rick Majerus, we will miss you. Sorry that happened over the weekend. Not much going on in the NBA over the weekend. In the NBA, there's a million games. I want to touch on the boxing over the weekend at Madison Square Garden. Trout beats Cotto in a very nice win for Trout. Trout looks like a really nice fighter, young, up-and-coming fighter. I think it's time for Cotto to hang it up. He had a nice career. He's a little long in the tooth. I would hope Cotto would hang it up. I'm sure he won't. Boxers usually don't. Nice win by Trout there. The MLS Finals, the LA Galaxy in LA beat Houston 3-1 in Beckham's last game. Maybe Donovan's last game. We don't know about Donovan playing for LA. We don't know about Donovan playing for the U.S. national team. But the LA Galaxy send Beckham off in grand style. Back-to-back championships for them. So that's where we are as far as the weekend. Tonight we have the Monday Night Football. We have the Giants at Washington. Tomorrow we're going to review the Monday Night Football game. I'm going to go through the NFL standings, and I'll go through the NBA standings. Wednesday we'll do our Army-Navy. We'll go through the college bowl games. I'll give you the top 25 in college basketball. Thursday, wall-to-wall NFL, picks, all that kind of stuff. So that wraps up today. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. I will talk to you tomorrow, Tuesday. Thanks, and take care.